So I reviewed the console version of the Power Rangers Dino Thunder game a while ago, and seeing the reception to that video, I decided I wanted to check out some of the other Power Rangers games. Like, SD of all people commented on my video, so the moment I saw that, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely reviewing the other Power Rangers games. Whether I end up regretting this or not, we'll find out later. So I decided my next review would be the GBA version of Dino Thunder. I heard that the game was supposedly better than the console version, so I played it to see if that was true. So, is it actually better than the console version? Well, kinda. But whether or not it's actually a good game is another question, so let's talk about it. Before we begin though, about 99.8% of my viewers haven't subscribed, so if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and like the video. Support means a lot to me. Alright, so starting off, it's Okay, so I guess the devs looked at Mega Man X5's constant interruptions at the start of the game and was like, yeah, this is the zenith of video game tutorials. Anyway, unlike the... Bruh. Okay. Unlike the console version... Let me play the game! Anyway, unlike the console version, this... Piss off! Anyway, unlike the console version, this game is a 2D side-scroller with beat-em-up elements. This game actually has you playing as both the Rangers and Megazord, but it also has this puzzle minigame. You control Connor, my boy Ethan, and Kira in the levels where you play as the Rangers, and you also get to play as the Megazord in its own section. The console version definitely should have had something like this. Like, imagine an alternate timeline where the console version was good and the Rangers had a beat-em-up gameplay similar to, say, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, and you get many different attacks and combos for the different Rangers where you unlock Tommy and Trent at the end of the game, but nah, we can't have nice things in this world. Anyway, as for the actual gameplay, will you let me play the fucking game?! So the segments where you play as the Rangers. To start off, the sprites are actually quite good. I mean, they do look rough around the edges and are definitely not as good looking as the sprites from other GBA games like the Sonic Advance trilogy and Mother 3, but hey, they look like the Rangers from Dino Thunder. Unfortunately, there isn't a sprite for Tommy since you can't play as him, but hey, at least Trent gets a sprite. Always a treat to see Abare Killer in anything since that's easily the best dinosaur suit in Power Rangers and Super Sentai. As for the actual gameplay, the Rangers have a simple 3-hit combo, but I have always had issues pulling it off. You need to rapid fire the button to pull off the combo, and it's kinda hard to do that when another enemy is coming at you. Which is why I usually use the attacks when you press up and down on the D-pad since they do more damage in one hit. You also get a Zord attack with the R button that insta-kills an enemy or does some good damage to a boss fight. There's also some platforming and the jumping works just fine. I never struggled with the controls, but I wish there was a button to make your character run faster. Also, the L button is not used for anything. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The enemies are allowed to dodge and guard, but not you. Why the hell should you not use the L button for anything? Guarding would be very helpful in this game, and yet they didn't do that or anything else and just made the L button completely useless. What were they thinking? Another issue I have is that there is way too much exploration in the missions. I wouldn't have an issue with this if it gave you a map that shows you where else you need to go to finish a level, but it doesn't. Probably could have been something else the L button could be used for, eh Natsume? Also, real quick, just want to say that if my voice sounds weirder than usual for the rest of the video, my allergies are starting to act up, so I apologize in advance. And the missions aren't complicated, it's mostly just finding stuff, destroying stuff, or killing enemies. Like this one mission where you're breaking people out of carbonite, a few missions where you have to find enemies to kill, and missions where you have to kill every enemy in each room of the mission you're on. And while it may be more playable than the console game, the missions are still repetitive and the exploration makes it worse. But while we're talking about the exploration, there's this one level where you play as Connor that drove me insane. You have to find these valves to turn, and there's this pit that takes you to this hallway with enemies if you fall in it, and you have to climb all the way back to the start. I struggled with other missions that have this level, but this is definitely the one that frustrated me the most. It was so bad that it was the only level I skipped with the password system. I just couldn't with this. I hardly skip levels with any game nowadays because I want to try to fully play the game, but I'm sorry. I just couldn't with this mission. It was that exhausting trying to find the last valves while also falling down that pit. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the missions reuse levels, which adds to how repetitive they can get. So yeah, a lot of the missions drag, and because of that, the soundtrack really starts to get grating. I mean, the soundtrack wasn't anything to write home about to begin with, but after like 10 minutes, the tracks really start to get annoying. There's a few boss fights, but they're quite... I mean, they definitely kicked my ass, but they're all about memorizing their patterns and figuring out when to attack. But with that in mind, it's making me want to play an actually good beat-em-up game like Batman Returns or Battle Circuit. The final boss is definitely the worst one since the first phase is playing catch with this ball of energy, and it can be tricky because you need to get at a good distance for it and you have to time your punch right. And even if I feel like I got the timing right, I take damage anyway and have to repeat the process. I feel like I got lucky with most of my hits, especially when I finally beat the boss after multiple attempts. There's other phases where you have to memorize the patterns and attack at the right time, but the first phase will likely drain a good amount of your health if you're not careful. But since we're talking about the bad stuff, let's talk about the puzzle minigame. So this is a minigame where you unlock Zords, and honestly, if you got all these, you deserve a medal, because I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or if this minigame is just complete bullshit. So it has you moving parts to guide Tommy to the Megazord, and maybe I have skill issues since I've never been the best at puzzle games, but this is one of the most unfair minigames I've ever played. I try to guide Tommy to the Megazord since that's what it looks like I'm supposed to do, but then the White Ranger comes in without any warning or any way to prevent it and sabotages it. Like, what the hell? What's the point of doing this if the White Ranger keeps coming in without warning? There's literally nothing you can do to prevent any of this. At least in my experience. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Anyway, for the Megazord fights, they play kinda like a fighting game. You get different Zords for both arms, but I think the best combination is the Felazord and Dimetrazord since they have the most range. I didn't really experiment with the Megazord battles, but Parasaur in particular really didn't do as well as Dimetrazord. One issue I have is that as you keep going, the bosses do more damage, but you can't deal a similar amount of damage to the boss. You can actually guard in this, which is fine, but I don't think it's unreasonable to want to do more damage as you keep progressing through the game. Or just make the Megazord deal the same amount of damage as the boss. There's also special attacks, but I never figured out how you activate them. I just do the same combo that I do throughout the bosses, and then all of a sudden, this activates. Overall though, I really don't think this game is all that good. It's definitely more bearable than the console version, but that doesn't mean it's a game I'd want to play. The combat is pretty boring, and the music got very grating when I had to keep exploring the levels. The sprites are pretty cool, but visuals can only matter so much if your game is not fun to play. I said before that with the right devs, a Power Rangers game would be awesome, and yeah, this game does have a good formula for a Power Rangers game. You get to play as the Rangers and also sections where you get to play as the Megazord, which is all you would want to do with a Power Rangers game, but it's just so boring. I don't think it frustrated me on the same level as the console version, but it made me wish I was doing something else. It is a bit better than the console version, but at the same time, it's not a very worthwhile experience that any self-respecting gamer would subject themselves to. I try to play a game like this from the perspective of a child who is a fan of the thing that the game is based on, and if I were a kid, maybe this could be a good game for when you're on the school bus on the way to school or going back home. But at the same time, I think I would rather have the Sonic Advance trilogy or Metroid Zero Mission on me, and just wait till after school to get my Power Rangers fix with the show. The only reason I could recommend this game is if you need to play every Power Rangers game, or for whatever bizarre reason, need to play every Game Boy Advance game. So with that in mind, like I said in my review of the console version, just watch the show. Or any other tokusatsu show, because tokusatsu is a pretty great time. Please watch Kamen Rider Gav. So, that was my review of Power Rangers Dino Thunder for the Game Boy Advance. This is Jade from Cynical Shark Clone Productions, signing out. Don't buy Postal 3.